All right, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a multisig wallet in Testnet. Testnet is an additional network in Bitcoin which allows you to run tests, right, to make wallets and to do transactions, but using Testnet Bitcoin, which is worthless, right? You don't have to worry about potentially losing any real Bitcoin. And then another benefit of using Testnet is that the blocks in testnet are confirmed much faster. So you're able to conduct your testing at, at a much more regular pace, and typically a lot faster than if you're using mainnet. So let's go ahead and get some of our devices and Sparrow Wallet set up so that they can use testnet. Okay. First things first, let's get Sparrow Wallet ready to be run in testnet. So when you open Sparrow by default, it opens typically in mainnet, right? The main network. And what you want to do to get it into testnet is go up to the top here, click on Tools, and then the bottom option down here, Restart in Testnet. So go ahead and click on that, and it's going to restart. And then you'll see down here that it's now connected to a testnet node. And you'll notice that the block height is much higher than the block height we're at right now. And that's again because blocks in testnet are confirmed much quicker, right? And at a much more regular cadence. So anyways, yeah, so now we have Sparrow ready to be run in testnet. Let's get some of our signing devices over here to also be ready to run in testnet. The two ones that you have to configure to run in testnet are the cold card and the passport. The Trezor and the Jade, the ways that we'll be using them in this multisig, you actually don't have to pre-configure them to run in testnet. They'll be able to work as is. But let's go ahead and configure the cold card and the passport. So we'll start with the cold card. If you've got your cold card already signed in, right, you put in your PIN and you're on the main menu, what you do from this main menu is you go down all the way to Advanced Tools, press OK. In here, you go down all the way to the bottom and you go to the danger zone, okay? Don't worry, it's not too dangerous. Now in this menu, you go down and you click on testnet mode. Go ahead and press that. It's going to give you a little note here. It's saying, only to use it if you're a developer, but for this purposes, I'm showing you how to use it. So go here, testnet 3, press OK. And now your cold card is configured and can be can start to use testnet, right? It can create wallets that are using testnet, and it can sign transactions from those wallets now. Okay, so we'll go back to the main menu now, and now the cold card's all ready. Let's go to the passport. So for the passport, this is the main menu that it has when you first open it. What you'll do with the passport is you will go over to the left, and you're going to go down to Bitcoin. Press the check. Go to network. Press the check. And you'll notice you're by default in mainnet, but we want to be in testnet. Okay, so now the passport is in testnet mode. All right, so we'll go back. We can go back over here to this main menu. All right, so now the passport and the cold card are both in testnet mode, and we've got Sparrow Wallet as well in testnet. So going back to Sparrow Wallet, let's actually set up our multisig. Just like setting up any wallet, the first thing we're going to do is click on File, and we're going to click on New Wallet. Okay, we'll give this wallet a name. We'll call it Testnet multisig tutorial, create wallet. It's going to open up the wallet in the settings page. And by default, the policy type will be single signature, okay? But we want to make a multi-signature. When you switch that to multisig, you'll notice that you get a few more options over here in this upper right corner. These options are to set the number of cosigners that you want in your multisig, and also to set the threshold of how many cosigners you need in order to sign a transaction, right? In order to fully sign a transaction and be able to broadcast it, okay? In other words, to be able to spend your Bitcoin from this wallet. So by default, it's set to a 2 of 3 setting, which basically means that you're going to set up 3 different signing devices, and then in order to spend your Bitcoin, you would need 2 of them, and it could be any of the 3 you could have 2 of in order to sign, right? Now, we've got 4 devices laid out in front of us. So for this example, I'm actually going to make this a 2 of 4, and you can do that by just dragging this over so that now it's a 2 of 4, right? If you wanted to make it a 3 of 4, then you drag this one to be 3 of 4. But in this example, we'll leave it at 2 of 4. So you'll notice that when you dragged the that first part where you dragged the circle from 3 to 4, down here we got an additional key store. Okay, and each of these key stores is where we're going to set up each of our devices. Okay, so let's start with the first key store, and we'll go ahead and we will, for this first one, we'll just do the easiest, and we'll set it up with the Trezor. Okay, the Trezor's plugged in. It's a, it has to be plugged in order to work. There's no way to air gap it. Okay, so we'll just use this here, and we will scan to find it. And so you see it's been found. Okay, so once you've entered your PIN, you get to this screen. And for this example, I don't have any passphrase set, so I can just press that with nothing in there. All right, and so now we have our option to import the key store. Before we do that, let's take a look at the derivation path. And you'll notice that, this looks a little bit different than what you're used to. So first of all, there's a 48, right? And that 48 means that this derivation path belongs to a multisig setup, okay? So 48 typically means multisig. And the other thing is, this last number here is by default a 2, okay? And that again is just kind of the standard with this type of multisig. The one other difference is that now, instead of this being a 0, which would typically be the default setting, it's now a 1. The reason why is because this part of the derivation path determines which network you're on. So if this is a 0, then that would mean that you're on the main network. But now that it's a 1, it means you're on testnet. Okay, so that's the derivation path. We'll go ahead and import that key store. Okay, so now we see we've got our Trezor, and it's all set up. Here's the derivation path again. Here's the tpub, which is basically the public key. Okay, and that's about all you need to know for that. Let's go ahead and do the second key store. Now for this one, I want to set up I'm going to go ahead and set up the Jade. And the way that I've done this Jade is a little different than what you may be used to, but I'm actually using a seed QR for my Jade. So similar to a seed signer, right, where you have a stateless device which doesn't actually hold the private keys, and your private key is just a QR code which you scan every time you start up your device in order to load the keys onto it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the Jade. So I'm going to power it up, okay? and I'll show you what this looks like. So when you power it up initially, you'll see that it says, that it's uninitialized. That means that there's no private keys on this Jade right now. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to go over. If you want to scan a seed QR, you go to that option. Okay. And you can press OK there, and you'll notice that the QR scanning camera loads up. So now we're going to go ahead and scan the QR. You see how fast that was. Again, no passphrase on this, so we'll select nothing there. And it's just confirming that you don't want a passphrase. So we'll say yes, no passphrase. All right, now our Jade has that private key on the device, okay? One thing that's interesting about the Jade when you are using when you're using it for setting up a multisig in Testnet is that as far as I know, there's no way to actually set the derivation path so that so it has that 1 instead of a 0. However, I've tested this out a couple of times and it works either way. So I'm going to show you kind of how I've done it, and you'll see that it still works. But what you have to do now to set up the Jade is you go over and you go to the options, press OK. In here, you go to Wallet, and then you go to Export XPub, okay? I think by default, this will typically show your single sig XPub. So if that's happening, if it's not showing the multisig one, and it's showing single sig instead, then you'll go to Options, and here you'll go to Wallet, and this is where you can switch it from single sig to multisig. So we want the multisig option. Okay, so that's how you would do that. And then you go back, and now you've got your multisig QR, so it can communicate, basically the multisig that's associated with, again, this seed QR code. Okay. And again, you'll notice here, right, the derivation path, it's got the 0 after 48. So this is technically a mainnet derivation path. But again, I've tried it a couple of times and it works in Testnet if you're doing a multi-sig setup this way. So you can go ahead and try it yourself as well if you want. So now what we need to do, we'll go back to the computer real quick, and we can click on air-gapped hardware wallet this time, okay? And you'll see there's a bunch of different options for all the different types of air-gapped wallets you can use. And one of those options right here is Jade, okay? So we'll go ahead and click Scan. All right, this is gonna open up your camera. I think if you haven't already done this before, it'll probably have a message asking if you want to give Sparrow access to your camera. So go ahead and press OK. I've got a little thing covering my camera, so I'm going to go ahead and see how there's that, again, moving QR code. I'm going to go ahead and uncover that camera and then try to get this lined up without showing anything in my room. Okay, so there we go. So easy as that. All right, I'm going to go back to the main menu now on my Jade. Okay, so now we're back in the main menu. Put that down. Let's go back to the computer. And here's all that information that we just got from the Jade. So it knows it's a Jade. It's got the derivation path. Again, I'll just say this again, right? This is mainnet because there's a 0. And even though we're in testnet, which technically would be a 1, right? We see in the Trezor there was a 1. This will still work. So Jade is all set. Let's go on to the next key store. For this one, let's go ahead and set up the passport. Okay. So I'm going to do air-gapped hardware wallet. And now we see there's a passport option. Now for Passport, you can either do a QR version of this, or you can do it using an SD card, right? The Passport has both options, which is kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and do the QR code option. So we'll do scan, okay? And that's going to, get the camera on the computer ready. And now let's go to the Passport. And what we do in the Passport is we go down to Manage Account, press OK. We can do Connect Wallet, press OK. Go all the way down to Sparrow, okay? So we're in Sparrow Wallet. We want to do a multi-sig, so that's okay. And now here again, you can either do the QR option or the SD card option. We'll do the QR in this case. So when you press OK, it's going to show the QR code. It's telling you to scan it in Sparrow. So now we'll do this again, right? There's that moving QR code. And we'll put this in front of the camera. I'm going to open it up here. And here we go. Okay, and that's all done. I'm going to leave this like this for a second because there's a next step, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay. Let's go back to the computer, and you'll notice. So now we have our Passport in here, and now we're back to the testnet derivation path. So we've got that one there, right? Just like the Trezor in the first step. So everything in here looks good. Okay, Passport's all set. Now let's do the final key store. And for this one, we're going to be using our cold card. So again, our cold card is air gapped. So we'll have to choose this air gapped hardware wallet option. Cold card is up here at the top. So we're going to do import file, okay? But first we have to get the file ready. So to do that, you're going to take your cold card, okay? And you'll notice there's no SD card in there. So get an SD card, put it in the cold card, okay? Pop it in until you hear the click. And now in cold card, you're going to go down to, I believe it is advanced tools. Let's check to see if that's right. Okay, nope, it wasn't advanced tools. It's actually settings. So you're going to go to settings. Okay, there it is. So in settings, there's a multisig wallets option. You'll go to that. And then in this multisig wallet, so I've already got one set up before. So if you've already set up any multisig wallets, you'll see them at the top here, and you'll be able to like click on them and look at their details of their information, right? But we want to actually set up a new one. So we're going to go to export xpub, okay? And it's going to say that, gives you some information about what it's doing here. You can read through that if you want. So then from here, you just press OK. Give it an account number. By default, 0 is the default account number, so go ahead and give it that one. And now you'll notice that light lit up, which means it is writing that file to the SD card, and that's the name that it gave it. So just take note of that so that when you're looking for it on your computer, you know that that's the file you're looking for, okay? So it's a .json file. All right, so now that file is all set. We'll go back to main menu, pop out the SD card. We can put this cold card back down, and let's go to the computer. Pop the SD card into our card reader, and now back on the computer in Sparrow, we'll click on Import File. Okay, here's the SD card. So go to there, and you'll notice this is the JSON file that we just wrote to that SD card from the cold card. So we're going to click on that. We'll click on Open, and there you go. So there's our final key store that we're uploading to make this multisig wallet. Okay, and again, just take note, right? This derivation path is the testnet derivation path. So all of them have the testnet derivation path except for the Jade. I think in the future, I bet they'll make an update that allows you to switch this to testnet if you want. But for now, this will do, right? I think I've done some testing and it should work either way. So this should be good to go. So that's it. Now our multisig, all of the settings are set up. All of our various signing devices have been configured right into this multisig, and we should be good to go. So we're going to click on apply. Okay, you can give it a password here if you want. This would be like just to unlock the Sparrow Wallet, right, when you open it. But for now, I'm just going to give this no password. And here is a very important piece of text, all right? This is called the output descriptor. And this piece of text has all of the information needed in order to find the addresses associated with this multisig wallet, okay? So if you ever wanted to recreate this wallet in a different piece of software, say like Blue Wallet or Nunchuck or Spectre, right? You would need the output descriptor in order for the same wallet to be recreated in these other softwares, right? Or even in Sparrow if you were on a different computer, or if maybe if you lost the previous wallet that we just created, right? You would need this output descriptor. You would either need the output descriptor, or you would just need to set it up again with the same exact, seed phrases, right, that each of these devices had, and the same derivation paths, right? So if you had the seed phrases and the derivation paths of all 4 devices, then you would get the same wallet. But if you don't want to go through the hassle of setting it all up again in that way, you can just use the output descriptor now, and that will set it up in the same exact way. So it's just a lot more convenient to have this handy if you want to recover your wallet in the future. I'm going to go ahead and save this PDF, and it's advisable to kind of create redundancy with this file, meaning save it in a lot of places, all right, so that you never lose it. Okay, so I'll save, what I'll do is I'll save a version on the SD card, right? So might as well, I'll save it there. And then I'll also save one to my desktop, sorry, my laptop, right? My computer. So I'll just save it in the downloads folder for now. I'll go ahead and save it there. And in my downloads folder, you'll notice that we just got that PDF saved. I'm going to open it just to show you what it looks like. So it's that piece of text that we saw, in Sparrow. So same piece of text, which is the output descriptor. And then they also have it, conveniently in a QR code form. So you can just scan this in, for example, you can scan this in Blue Wallet, and then it will load the same multisig wallet into Blue Wallet, which is really nice, right? Very convenient. So again, keep a copy of this in multiple places and make sure you don't lose it. That's kind of the main thing with the output descriptor, okay? So we're going to press OK, and we are all set now. So we've got our multisig wallet set up. It is set up in Testnet. So now let's get some Testnet Bitcoin onto our wallet, into our wallet. We go to transactions, there's nothing here yet, right? So we'll go to receive. And we're all very familiar with this interface now in Sparrow. So you'll notice that basically once the multisig is set up, right? Once the multisig wallet is set up, a lot of the functionality is the same, right? You're already familiar with receive in a single sig, and it's really no different in a multisig. So you're going to go to this receive tab. You're going to see that there's an address to receive to. You'll notice this address is a little different looking, and that's because it's a testnet address, right? So it starts with a TB1. But yeah, this is the address that we're going to receive our first testnet Bitcoin to. So we'll give it a label. We'll just say like, test receive. And let's go to a Bitcoin testnet fountain, or faucet rather, a Bitcoin testnet faucet to get some free testnet Bitcoin to mess around with. So if you go to Google and you Google Bitcoin testnet faucet, you'll see there's a bunch of different options here. We'll just click on the first one, and you'll notice it says, paste your testnet address and give it an amount that you want to receive, and it's going to send you some. So let's go back to Sparrow. Let's copy that testnet address for our receive address. Go back here, paste it, okay, and I'm gonna get the maximum here. So get some 8,000 testnet sats, okay. Send testnet Bitcoin. All right, so that's been sent off. Go back to Sparrow, and you'll see pretty quickly that this will register. Go to transactions. We'll wait for a second now until this gets updated. All right. So there we have it. We've got our testnet Bitcoin. Okay. And it's kind of funny. Sparrow Wallet still gives it $1 value, even though these are worthless sats. These testnet sats aren't worth anything, right? But anyways, that's kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, so now we've got our testnet Bitcoin, and we can do whatever we want with this now, right? We can send it around and experiment and just get comfortable with this wallet setup so that we can, start to feel more comfortable and confident using a multisig. So what's the next step? Let's actually send some of this testnet Bitcoin, and what we'll do is we'll send it back to the place that we just got it from. Okay, so it says here, to send your testnet coins back, simply initiate a transaction from your testnet wallet to the following Bitcoin address. So this is their address. Let's go ahead and copy that. Okay, and we'll go back to Sparrow, and now we're going to go to send. Okay, so again, similar interface that we're used to with the single sig, and we'll paste it here. We'll do this, test send, and we'll send back, for now, let's just send back maybe 3,000 sats, okay? Because I kind of want to do 2 transactions because I want to show you how to sign with all 4 devices. And actually, sorry, I forgot a step. I got ahead of myself here. Before we send out, I want to do actually 2 more things, and that is to export this wallet into the passport, and to export it into the cold card, so that these 2 devices kind of know the multisig wallet, right? So that they know of its existence and can sign for it. Okay, it's not necessary for these 2 because of the way that because of the way they're set up. I think the Trezor automatically does it with its connection, right? And then the Jade, it's not necessary to export the wallet to it because we're using it with seed QR, so it's stateless and would erase it anyways. But let's go and let's actually export our multisig wallet back to the passport and the cold card. So I'm going to leave this here, that's fine, but we'll go up here to File, and we'll go to Export Wallet, okay? And here you'll see there's some options. Let's do Export to the passport, and we'll show the QR code needed to export to the passport, all right? And if you remember, right, I left the passport kind of in this step, but the next step, if you press next, is import the multisig configuration from Sparrow via QR code. So that's what we're doing right now, right? Press OK, and it's going to allow you to scan. All right. And once you've scanned it, you'll see here that it's got all the information from that multisig that we just set up. So 2 of 4, and it has all of the addresses and derivation paths of each of those keys, right? Each of those key stores. So it's got it all there. And now what effectively just happened is we just stored another copy of that output descriptor on the passport now. So, again, kind of going back to the idea of making sure you have a bunch of redundant copies of that output descriptor file. Now we just have another copy on this device as well. Okay, so that's good. So that's all set. Oh, and we can just actually go back now to the main menu. Okay, so that's set for the passport. Now let's do, going back to Sparrow, we'll do the same thing, but this time for the cold card. Okay, so we will, again, go to File, go to Export Wallet. Okay, and now we'll do exporting to a cold card. So this time we have to do it with a file on, the SD card. So we'll save it to that SD card. Okay, save, and we'll eject the SD card. Okay, take it out of the computer. Go here to the cold card, pop it in. All right. Now again, in the cold card, go down all the way to the bottom in settings. Go to Multisig wallets. And now we do import from file. Okay, that first option. And it says, pick the file. There's only one file to pick from, right? So that's fine. It's just gonna, there it is, the testnet multisig that we just wrote to the SD card. Press OK. It's gonna read that. And here we go. So you'll notice it has all the same information we just saw on the passport, but it's got the, 2 of 4 policy, and some information about that. It's got the addresses and derivation. Press OK. And here we go. So it's set. So now you'll see here, right, 2 of 4, and that's our new multisig. If we click into that, we can view the details of it, right? Again, if we want to see these details. But yeah, this is all the, all the information that was in the output descriptor, right? So now we effectively have another copy of that output descriptor, but on our cold card. Okay, so that's all set now. And let's go back to the main menu. Okay, so sorry for that kind of that extra steps there that I forgot to do earlier. But yeah, it's nice to have those two things set up to make signing easier. Okay, so let's go back to where we left off with sending the testnet Bitcoin. All right, to remind us where we're at, we're going to send some of the testnet Bitcoin that we just received back to the person that gave it to us in the first place. We had gotten the address from that website to send it to. We're going to send, in this example, 3,000 testnet Satoshis to that address. We'll just leave this fee rate at, very low, right? You don't need to spend a lot of testnet sats in order to get your testnet transaction confirmed, because everything is basically happening for free. Okay, so this is all good now. We've got our 8,000 testnet sat UTXO going in as an input. We're sending 3,000 back to that address, right, that we got it from. this is our change. So we're going to get, you know, just shy of 5,000 testnet sats back to ourselves as change, and then we're paying, you know, a tiny little fee in testnet sats. So it's, again, it's a worthless fee, but we're paying a fee nonetheless in order to get our transaction included in the next block on testnet. Okay, so create transaction. Everything looks good. We'll click on finalize transaction for signing. Now this is the part that is a little different than what you're used to when you have a single sig, right? With a multi-sig, it's going to have a number of slots here under signatures, and the number of slots is going to correspond to the threshold that you need to meet, right, when you set up your wallet initially. So we set it up with a 2 of 4 threshold, meaning you need 2 signatures in order to completely sign this transaction and in order to be able to broadcast it to the network. All right. So for this first example, let's just choose, let's do it with the Trezor and the cold card. How about? So first, let's do it with the Trezor. All right, the Trezor is connected, so we can just click on this button over here, sign, and you'll see it's going to detect the Trezor by default. We'll do set passphrase, but you know, if you remember, we didn't have a passphrase, so just give this as empty. Okay, and we can click on sign. Okay, and now I'm going to look at the Trezor here on the screen and show you what it looks like. So on the screen here on the Trezor, it's going to show you the information, how much you're sending, and the address you're sending it to. So that looks good. We'll click confirm. And it says that there's a lock time. You don't really have to worry about this. This is just something that Sparrow does by default. So we'll click confirm there. And just some more confirmations here, the amount you're sending, the fee that you're paying, and these are all in testnet denominated, Bitcoin. So it's all, again, worthless, but nonetheless, you got to pay that fee. So press confirm, signing the transaction, and you'll see there, just got one of the signatures that we needed. All right, so now we need a second one. For the second one, let's sign using the cold card. Okay, so the SD card's still in the cold card, so let's take that out. All right, and let's put it into our computer so that we can put a copy of the transaction onto that SD card in order to sign it. We'll click Save Transaction. Okay, on the SD card, we'll save it, and this transaction is going to be named testsend.psbt. So we'll save it there. Okay, and now let's go ahead and eject that SD card. Pop it out. Put it back in the cold card. Okay, and then just like how you're used to doing with using your cold card in a single sig setup, with a multi-sig, now we do the same step where we just do ready to sign, and we'll click that, and it's going to recognize that this is a valid transaction that it can actually sign, right? So it's going to give you all the details of that transaction, the amount, the address, the network fee, the change back, right? All of that good stuff. And you're going to press OK to sign it. Okay. And there we go. So now it's signed, and the signed version, you'll notice, has a -part.psbt, and that's because this is a partial signature, right? Because you need 2 signatures in order to broadcast this transaction. It knows that having signed with just one of the signatures from the cold card, it's partial. All right, so that's why it says part. All right, so we can press OK and go back to the main menu, pop this out, put the cold card down now. Go ahead and put this SD card back into our computer. And back on Sparrow Wallet, we'll click on Load Transaction, okay? And here is that part, right? The partially signed transaction. So we'll click on that one, press Open, and there we go. So now we've got one signature from the Trezor, one signature from the cold card, 2 of 4. So we've met our threshold and we can broadcast the transaction. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so that's been broadcast to the test net. And if we want to see that transaction in testnet, right, similar to how we can see in mainnet on mempool, mempool also has a testnet version of it, right? That's kind of cool. You can see the transaction in testnet. And you'll notice these blocks get confirmed, much quicker, right? So this will probably be confirmed, pretty quickly. We'll leave this open. That's fine. Let's go ahead and do one more example where we send to, and we can actually send to that same address again, right? So I'm gonna close this, and we'll send to the same address again. So I will, oh, sorry about that. I will copy this address one more time. Go back to Sparrow, paste it in here, and we'll say test send to. And this time I'm just going to send back all the sats, all right? So we'll give back everything that we just got for free. We'll give it back. And yeah, so this time you'll see there's no change back, right? We're sending it all. Okay, so let's create that transaction. Finalize transaction for signing. And this time for our signatures, let's use the Jade and the Passport. So both of these use QR codes to sign. So what we're going to do is we're going to say show QR, right? And it's effectively what that's going to do. It's going to show a moving QR code, and this moving QR code has all the information in the unsigned transaction, right? So we want to scan this using either of our devices. Let's start with the Jade, and we'll scan it with the Jade. Okay. So in the Jade, go over to scan QR, right? That option. It's going to open up the camera to scan it. We'll go ahead and get that nice and close. Not too close though, and just hold it there until it gets the whole thing. Okay, you might have to hold it there for a little while, but it should get it eventually. And all of the information gets up on here, so where it's going, okay, the amount, and actually, okay, so we can close this now. Yep. One thing that's interesting, I just noticed, is I think where it's going to didn't have the T in front of the address. So that's kind of interesting. That might just be a bug in the Jade, but regardless, this is testnet Bitcoin, so we're not too concerned about, those details. But that is an interesting thing to note, and something I might bring up to the developers. But anyways, regardless, press on OK. Press OK, and now we get another moving QR code on the Jade screen. So we have to scan this back into Sparrow Wallet, and this is this is effectively the partially signed version of the transaction. So we've got to get this back into Sparrow. So we'll go back here and we'll click Scan QR, okay? And just like before, we'll get this nice and close. I'm going to open up the camera and try to scan this. Okay. Going this direction usually takes a little bit longer, just because the Jade screen is a little small, so you have to use kind of a less dense moving QR. So it usually takes a few extra seconds to scan in, but just make sure you kind of hold it still and are far enough away from the camera that it can detect that moving QR code accurately enough. Okay, so give this a few more seconds to finish. Any minute now. All right. On the Jade, I'll just go ahead and press OK, and that brings us back to the main menu. So notice we have the Jade signature now in Sparrow, and let's do the last signature with the passport. Okay, I will show QR again, and we're going to take our passport now, and here we do sign with QR code. Press OK. It's going to open up camera. We'll scan that moving QR code with the passport. Okay, if it's taking a little long to scan, it might be because you're a little too close. So maybe just bring it back a little bit so it can see the whole QR code nice and centered in the middle of that screen there. But just give this a second while it reads it. And if it's taking too long, because sometimes it does do this where it's taking a little too long, you can either try to adjust kind of where your device is in order to adjust how big that QR code is on the screen. But in this case, it looks like it's kind of been stuck at a low percentage for a little too long. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this. And instead, what I'll do is I'm gonna decrease the density of this QR code just so it's a little bit easier to read. So I'm gonna do that. And so you'll notice now it's a larger, well, rather it's like a less dense QR code, okay? So I'll try that one more time. So scan QR code, and this time we'll do it with this less dense one. All right, so there we go. Now we're making some good progress, and we've got it. Cool. So you'll notice in the passport, it tells you all the information, right? Where it's going, the amount, and then in the passport it has the correct address with the T in front of it because it's a testnet address, so that's fine. No change back, network fee, all good. We'll sign it, and that'll give us the QR code here. So on Sparrow, we'll click scan QR, okay? And we'll do this again. So boom, bring this out until I can read it. And there we go. So that's all set. And obviously it was a lot easier to do with this one just because the screen is bigger and brighter. So just keep that in mind. If you're using a device that has a smaller screen or a less bright screen, it might take longer to read this moving QR code. So just be patient if that's the case, but you should be able to get it eventually. just hold it there as still as possible. Okay, so we've signed with the Jade, we've signed with the passport. So now we have that combination of signatures, right? We've reached our threshold 2 of 4. So we're all set, and we can broadcast this transaction as well. Okay, so there we go. Just broadcasted that transaction. Let's check that out in Testnet. Okay, and you'll notice we just got a block confirmed in Testnet a minute ago. So that means that our previous transaction probably got confirmed. We'll check that in a second. But yeah, so now we have our second transaction, and it's waiting in the Testnet mempool. And we should be all set to go. So now we've done receive, we've done sending, okay? And the last thing that I want to demonstrate to everyone is how to recover your wallet, okay? Your multisig wallet. All right, so yeah, let's go to transactions real quick, and you'll see that this one has already been confirmed, right? Has, oh wow, has 7 confirmations, so it's actually been confirmed in quite a few blocks. And then this one now has 1 confirmation, right? The one that we just sent. And our balance is 0, so we've sent out all of our sats, all right? That's all set. I'll go ahead and close that transaction. Okay, so the final part of this tutorial, which I know has turned out to be a much longer tutorial than you probably expected, longer than I expected too. That's just how it goes. The last part is recovering your wallet, okay? So there's 2 ways that you can recover a multisig wallet, all right? The first way that you can recover it is if you've got all of your seed phrases and derivation paths of each of the keys that you initially made the multisig with, then you can recreate that same exact multisig, and you'll see that it has the balance and all of the previous transactions and all that stuff, right? When you recreate it that way. So in other words, you could go through the exact same process that we did at the beginning of this video, where you set it up and one by one you load in each of these key stores, and you just have to make sure that the derivation path is the same, right? But as long as each of these devices still has the same private key on them, right, or is using the same seed phrase as before, then they will set up the exact same multisig once you set it up in the exact same way that you did initially, okay? The other way that you can recover or reinstate your wallet in Sparrow Wallet or or even in a different wallet, right, like Blue Wallet, for example, is you can load in your output descriptor, okay? So that's that PDF that we saved earlier, all right? So let's do that. I just want to show you what that looks like, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cancel out this wallet. And as a matter of fact, I'll delete it, right? I'll just delete it outright. So the way you can delete a wallet, by the way, is if you click on Open Wallet, it's going to show you all your wallets in Sparrow, right? And in this case, we're in like the Testnet folder. So this is all of our Testnet wallets. I've only got one in here, the one that we just set up. But if you want to delete it, you can right-click it and you can move it to the trash, right? So there we go. I just deleted that wallet, and I'll even empty the trash. So that's gone now, right? But we still have our output descriptor that we saved before. So we're going to use this now to recover the wallet in Sparrow, all right? Going back to Sparrow, let's go to File, and let's go to Import Wallet, okay? And you'll see there's some options here, right? And if you scroll down a bit, an option down below is Output Descriptor, all right? So let's click on Import File, and we'll go to our Downloads menu since that's where we saved it. We also saved it, if you remember, on our SD card, right? So we have this PDF output descriptor on the SD card as well. Let's load it in from the SD card. Let's see if it works from that one. Okay, so press Open. We can keep this the same name as it was before, Testnet Multisig Tutorial, right? Because we deleted the first one, so now we can recreate this wallet. And once we press Create Wallet, we'll do no password, and you'll notice it loaded, and it has all the transactions that we just did previously, right? So this is the exact same wallet that we've just been working with, and we just reinstated it. And so now like we have it all set up here. And you can do the exact same thing in other wallet softwares. For example, if you want to have you want to have visibility into the balance of this wallet in your mobile device. You could, for example, scan this output descriptor. You could scan that QR code version of it, right? This version. You could scan that in Blue Wallet, and that will give you a basically a watch-only version of this Multisig wallet, but in Blue Wallet. So you can do it there too as well, which is nice. I think that just about covers everything. So that should get you started with Multisig, and it should show you kind of how to do it, right, in Testnet so that you can start to experiment with it and get comfortable with it, right? You don't have to use real Satoshis and worry about losing real value. You can do it now using fake Bitcoin, right? Testnet Bitcoin. You can do as many different combinations as you want. You can go wild. You can make, crazy M of N setups and just kind of get a sense for all the different things you can do in multisig. It's a really cool type of wallet, and I think it's often um, it's often kind of made to seem like it's scary or very complicated, right? And admittedly, it is more complicated than a single sig, right? Obviously, but it's really not that scary. I think once you start getting used to it, and once you start actually transacting with it, signing transactions with multiple devices, like how I just showed you to do, recovering the wallet using the output descriptor, like I just showed you to do, like how to do it, right? It's really not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It just takes some practice and some getting used to, right? Building up that confidence so that you know how to do all these different things. I will say the one thing that I'd say is the most complicated part about multisig is learning how to navigate the menus of each of your devices. That's the most complicated part, honestly. I mean, you saw all the different steps that were needed for, setting up the multisig in each of these devices. The Trezor, funnily enough, was the easiest one, but that's because it's, connected right into the computer, and it's not air gapped, right? So it makes it a little bit easier to set it up and to sign and whatnot. But these other ones, you saw like there was a bunch of different steps in the menus to actually set it up. So I think the hardest part with multisig is just learning how to do those different steps to set things up in each of your devices. Um, but just like anything else, kind of once you've learned it once and you've practiced it a couple of times, then you'll start to remember all the steps that you need to take in the menus or whatnot to set up the multisig. And then once it's set up, signing is pretty straightforward, pretty much the same thing as signing any other transaction, right? As you saw. So that's it. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my cold card back onto the mainnet mode. All right. I think the passport, once it shuts down and gets restarted, automatically goes back to the mainnet by default. So you don't actually have to reset it to mainnet for the passport, but for the cold card you do. So let's just do that real quick, just to remind you kind of the steps of how to do this. So we'll go to Advanced Tools, all the way down to Danger Zone, all the way down to Testnet mode, and then we'll go back up to Bitcoin, which is the main net. All right. So now our cold card is back to its default state of being able to create wallets in mainnet and sign transactions, using mainnet. So that's all set now, and I'm going to go ahead and just power this off now because we're done with the cold card, and we can also do we can just power this one off, right? And power off the Jade. This is in the stateless mode, so actually I'll just show you again kind of what happens here with the Jade. This is kind of cool. But yeah, so now it's back to being uninitiated, meaning there's no private keys on here. So in order to get the private keys back on here, you would have to scan this QR code, right? And that's using seed QR and having things stateless. like the seed signer, right? So that's like a cool new feature of the Jade, which I've enjoyed using recently. Okay, but anyways, we'll go ahead and shut off the Jade, and last but not least, we'll shut off the passport. Okay, and there you have it. We're all done. So if you've got any questions of, if anything wasn't clear, you have any additional questions of, how to use Testnet or how to set up a multisig, or if you have other signing devices and you're wondering, how to use those signing devices in a multisig, feel free to reach out. You can leave a comment in this video, or you can reach out on Twitter, and I'll try to get those answers for you. And also, Google's your best friend, so feel free to also Google those questions, and you might be able to find the answers in the first link or two. Google has some pretty good information out there for how to set up multisigs and how to do it with different devices and whatnot. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it was so long. It's a lot of steps, right? But once you've got things going, I think it gets easier and easier kind of the more you practice. I will be making some future tutorials doing some different multi-sig wallets and configurations. And I think I might do some even using mainnet, just to kind of show you both flavors, right? And to use some real Satoshis. And there's also some other things you can do in mainnet, like exporting the output descriptor to Blue Wallet, and I kind of want to show you how that can be done as well in future tutorials. So stay tuned for those. All right, thanks for watching.